At the time when SUVs are ruling the roost, a sedan comes as a very fresh addition in any automaker's lineup, and so is the Skoda Slavia. The design is very contemporary and modern. The car is pretty much well loaded with all the modern features, and we are taking you through all the details right in this video. So keep following Park Plus and let's get going with the Skoda Slavia. Let's begin right with the design because it will instantly draw your attention. Yes, it looks very edgy and very modern. Subtle use of chrome treatment right here on the grille and also here around the fog lamp area. Looks very nice, very elegant, and I quite like the way it has been executed. Also sleek headlamps right here. You have got the DRL strip and these are projector units. So again, I like the treatment, sort of wraparound. You have got this stretching towards the profile of the car. Also, the bonnet has been done very nicely. You have got these sharp lines right here on the bonnet and a power dome treatment right here on the side. Overall, the hunker down stance of the car looks very nice. Now let's check out the profile of the car and see how it looks like. Now in profile, the Skoda Slavia looks very elegant, has a very typical sedan silhouette which I quite like, and also very subtle use of chrome on the door handles, on the window line here, and also around the Skoda badge on the fender is done very elegantly and looks very nice. Also, you have a very pronounced shoulder line that rises through the car and runs the length of it. Yes, is executed very nicely and looks very beautiful. Also, a tapering roof line that falls onto the boot, enhances the overall silhouette of the car. Again, is executed very nicely. And last but not the least, 16-inch alloy wheels. I like the pattern, and also, they look chunky and fill the wheel wells quite well. Now, what I particularly like in the rear end of the Skoda Slavia, that there aren't too many elements. Yes, it's a very fresh and very flush design, and you have got, angular lines on the boot area. So overall, very well segmented. Also, Skoda lettering in the stretched format, and you have the conventional Slavia logo here. Looks very nice. The wraparound LED tail light, very sleek and very nice executed. Also, you have got a very detailed motif right here, so looks very elegant. Again, overall, the design still looks very modern and very subtle use of chrome again even at the rear, so adds to that elegance appeal of the car. The modern design, the tall stance is something that draws your attention towards the car, and overall even the rear looks very beautiful. Now that's a wrap on the exterior of the Skoda Slavia. Now let's check out the interior of the car. The sense of plushness and elegance is carried on even on the inside of the Skoda Slavia. The cabin looks very nice and a very good place to be in. I quite like the design. Yes, it's similar to what we have seen in the Kushaq, but again has its own highlights. The color treatment, black on the top and beige on the lower section of the car, looks very nice to me and is executed very nicely. Adds to that sense of space inside the cabin. Champagne gold treatment right here on the dashboard, piano black highlights, and a very sleek ambient lighting strip. Again, looks very nice, and I quite like that when that is lit up in the night. You have got circular aircon vents here, and in terms of features, it's a very well loaded cabin. A 10-inch infotainment system that we have seen in the Skoda Kushaq. Yes, it's the same unit, and comes with wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and a host of connectivity features. Yes, and the response is also very nice, quite crisp, and very nice detailing in terms of graphics. Also, it's very much on point. The digital instrument cluster right here in front of the driver, again, this is executed very nicely, but personally I prefer the traditional analog type of dial, especially in a sedan. So this is same thing that we have seen in the Kushaq, but yes, in terms of overall appeal, it's been executed very nicely. Graphics even there is quite nice and it's very informative. The only feature that this car misses out on is ADAS features. Yes, level 2 ADAS features. The Slavia doesn't have them. Hyundai Verna, its rival, offers those features, so that is something which we can expect in the next update. But even in terms of other features, it's a very well loaded cabin. Ventilated seats you have right here, wireless charging, a sunroof, and good in terms of practicality. You have cup holders, decent space inside center armrest, and also in the glove box area. So yes, in terms of overall appeal, it still feels very premium and very upmarket. The rear seat of the Skoda Slavia is actually very comfortable when it comes to cushioning and under thigh support. I even like the backrest angle, and I have decent knee room here. So yes, in terms of space also it's a good cabin. In terms of width of the seat, 2 people can sit quite comfortably, that's quite obvious, but for 3 it will be bit of a squeeze. But the transmission tunnel, this is very low, so even if I'm here in the middle, it's very easy for me to sit and I have a good view outside. Back to the seat now. In terms of features, I have got quite a good amount of features here. Rear air con vents, Type C charging ports. You have 2 Type C charging ports and drop down armrest. Yes, so these are features you have. Obviously you get cup holders here, but what I miss having is sun blind for my window, even for the rear window, because those are features that we now come to expect in cars of these segments. In terms of practical touches, you have place to keep your mobile phone right in front of the driver and the co-driver seat, so that is a nice touch I have. Overall, the cabin is very comfortable. The rear seat is very nice. And since we have spoken about practicality, let's check out the boot space of the Skoda Slavia. So that's 521 liters that you get, and quite a large amount of boot space. Yes, quite good to store a lot of luggage for your weekend trip. And in terms of loading lip, it's not very high, so keeping in things will be quite easy. So that's a wrap on the interior of the Skoda Slavia. Now let's check out what are the engine options that you get. So the Skoda Slavia comes with 2 turbo petrol engine options. First up is the 1.5 litre 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine that's right here with us. This engine belts out around 148 brake horsepower at 6000 RPM and a good 250 Newton meters of peak torque between 1600 and 3500 RPM. Yes, you have a very good power band right there. And this one is mated to a 7-speed DSC automatic transmission. That's the dual shift gearbox, while you also have the option of a 6-speed manual transmission. In terms of fuel economy, it delivers around 18.4 kilometers per litre. And then you also have the 1 litre 3-cylinder TSI turbo petrol engine option in the Skoda Slavia. Now this engine belts out around 114 brake horsepower at 5000 RPM and around 178 Newton meters of peak torque at 1750 RPM. Comes with the option of a 6-speed torque converter automatic gearbox or the 6-speed manual transmission that is standard. In terms of fuel economy, it delivers close to 19 kilometers per litre according to ARAI. Now that was a gist on the power figures, and now let's see how that translates on the road when you are behind the wheel. So we are driving the 1.5 litre turbo petrol engine in the Skoda Slavia, and honestly I am loving the way it is performing on the road. Yes, in terms of power delivery, a tap on the throttle and it takes off, and you hear that engine, the exhaust note. I am loving it, literally loving it. The low end torque kicks in nice and low. You have a very meaty low end torque. The mid range is also quite good, and towards the top end you have some progression still. The good part is that the power delivery is very linear. Right there, the 7-speed DSC gearbox works its charm. Yes, through the gears the delivery is very smooth. You don't feel any head knot as such, so very comfortable behind the wheel. And that is in the D mode. Yes, in the drive mode the power delivery is very smooth and comfortable. The moment you shift it to sports, just a toggle on the gear lever, it goes. So yes, behind the wheel of the Skoda Slavia, I am all smiles. But what about the driving dynamic when it comes to handling? Not much complaint there, because the suspension is quite well calibrated for our Indian road conditions. A very good balance of ride and handling. The suspension doesn't touch through quite often when you are driving at reasonable city speeds. It's quite comfortable. You don't get to hear it much, and you don't feel those jerks too much filtering inside the cabin. It's only when you go speeding over those bumps, potholes, speed breakers, is that when you get to hear the suspension much and feel that pinch in your back, but only to an extent. So yes, in terms of ride quality, it is quite sorted and has a very European feel to it. So that is something which I am really liking. When it comes to handling, it has an edge, in the compact sedan space. Now the Slavia falls in the compact to mid-size sedan space, and the way this thing is behaving on the road, given its dimension, it kind of reassures you to push it a bit harder, because going around the corner, going around the bends, obviously you don't feel the body rolls too much. It is very much in control at reasonable speeds, obviously, because see, this is no performance car. If you will be flooring it around the corner, those body rolls will be inevitable then. But when you are at reasonable speeds, you don't need to slow down. Yes, so you can continue with reasonable part throttle. And finally, what about the steering feedback? When it comes to Skoda and Volkswagen cars, you do expect them to be sporty when you compare it to other segment cars, and that's exactly the case with the Skoda Slavia. The steering feels nice, light at lower speed in the traffic condition right here, and when I'm speeding up at that time, it weighs up very nicely and you don't have that artificial feel. It is very natural. The nose is pointy. You are able to channelize the car towards the position you want it. Yes, you are able to point it to a certain corner, and that is something which you expect from a C-Jack car. And since I am behind the wheel, there's one thing that I would like to mention is that inside the cabin, especially when you're driving it, there are few strengths that you notice. And first is that the feel inside the cabin, the way it is taking these bumps, it feels plush. So you have that sense of premiumness still, and the cabin also, wherever you are brushing your hand, still feels very upmarket. I quite like the way I feel inside this cabin. Also, the champagne gold treatment on the dashboard, it is not distracting me, but it has my attention. Even the ambient lighting right here again has my attention. The detail is quite nice and I am quite liking these details. I am in city traffic, and honestly, navigating it through the city traffic is quite easy. It is very easy to maneuver in the traffic. I have a good idea of dimension thanks to a reasonably large glasshouse area. So in terms of driving comfort, the Skoda Slavia again is a very city friendly car, and even out on the highway when you want that performance, it will impress you and won't leave you wanting for anything more given its segment and its price range. Now last but not the least, what I also like in the Skoda Slavia is the braking feedback. The way it behaves, the brake bites are very reassuring, and when you are speeding up, that the car will be able to come to a halt in a reasonable distance. So yes, that is again a very reassuring feedback to have. In terms of behavior, it is a bit snappy, but just a wee bit. Not a deal breaker at all, but yes, that's just when it comes to behavior. Overall, the feedback is very reassuring. Now in this DSG variant, you also have paddle shifters right here, and the feedback is very reassuring. That exhaust note, the car literally sings every time you floor it, and yes, it sounds very nicely. Not a sports car, but I still like the exhaust note quite a bit. And yes, these paddle shifters are convenient when you are speeding up. Upshifts and downshifts are very responsive. Obviously, that's how the DSG gearbox behaves, but again, having this here feels very sporty and very convenient. So that was a quick wrap on the Skoda Slavia. This is what you wanted to know about the car, and a detailed review will follow soon. I hope that for the time being I have answered everything. We'll be doing few comparisons with the car very soon, so stay tuned for all that. Keep following Path Plus for more such exciting content, and let us know what more you want us to do and what more you are expecting, how you like the format. I'll see you soon. Signing off, Shubham Parasha here.